So I think it's worth asking, are you enjoying Brat Summer?
I'm enjoying a brat summer of a kind.
Hmm.
Um, it's a very I'm feeling a brat summer, but it's like a
Hmm.
very literal feeling. Like I'm just turning on Charlie XCX and like these dudes with brat in their bio are like, "Can you host?"
Can you?
That's a It depends on the individual.
He's
I'm like,
you
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 gotta
can, you can but won't.
yeah, it's like you gotta get cool with a lot of stuff real quick if you're walking through my door.
Yeah. God, you are toxic. I love you, but it is a toxic sort of situation. No profile image. Have an Ask Grinder profile.
So all you need to put is like the funny 10 words that are like mask dom top can host.
Yeah, you said you
Looking
can't.
now.
Looking for some fun.
Looking for now.
Well, I'm glad you had a wonderful weekend. Because I was just thinking about how much the Charlie XCX album triggered a core memory for me. Because very recently we did our Q&A for our patrons, our special bonus episode, and one of the questions that was sent in was about Aphrodite and about our experience with her, and it referenced like the Lady Gaga Venus song.
Oh
And
yeah.
you were reading the question out loud, and you did not understand where that was from. And I was like, you are the music guy. You are professionally a radio DJ. You send me regularly YouTube videos that are like, there's 23 views. 19 of them are me. It's really good, but it's not quite underground enough for me. Like it's not like 7 views, you know. And then like you don't know Lady Gaga, which I understand. I've forgiven you for this shock. But then I was like, have you seen Brat? Like, have you heard the album? And you were like, I've heard it at a gay bar. And I was like, well, you
Yeah.
should have maybe heard Lady Gaga there too.
I'm certain I have heard a Lady Gaga song be played there. It's
Yeah,
just, could I point to it? Probably not. Um,
I understand.
Unless it's like Bad Romance, but that's just sort of like culturally grafted into reality at this
Well,
point.
so is Venus, but I mean, look, I understand that you're very, very, very mask about a lot of things. I get that. I mean, everything, I should say. But I mean, in the spirit of Brett Summer, you think you just fell out of a coconut tree? I've been wanting to say that for so long. Like, he, you exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before he. We've been over this. We're necromancers. We understand this. We regularly commune with the spirits of the dead. You know this. Lady Gaga is important. I
Oh man. Oh, that you snuck that one in there. Much like the coconut hitting me in the top of the head under
Yeah,
the
bonk.
tree,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
exactly. Oh,
Oh my God. Kamala.
don't
K
cry.
Hive, save
Yeah,
us.
don't cry because it's over. Smile because it's commencing.
Oh, we're so doomed.
Be not alarmed at the frightful howls which you may hear. It's Sfinga and Brat Tamer key.
Oh no.
I'm
For
kidding. Is that on it?
um
It is Svinga and busting out the $20 Amazon engraving pen key.
Hmm.
If
That
you
it
know, you
is.
know. Uh, all my fellow pentacle wielding sorcerers know this one. But shout outs to the many, many engraving pens that you can
Hmm.
buy for very cheap, that are battery operated and do the job for when you're making pentacles.
Hmm. Would also say shout outs to the floppy extension part of the Dremel tool that you can
Mm,
chuck some engraving bits into.
facts.
Uh, if you know, you know.
If you know, you know. It is the Pentacles of Solomon episode, long awaited, one we've constantly teased and discussed on our Discord server and in Q&As. I'm super excited for this one. I wish Salt were here for it because I mean, hugely experimented with them himself. But I think we will have to do him justice as he's quite busy with another project right now. So, in honor of our wonderful co-host and how absolutely astounding he is at all that he touches, we shall endeavor to certainly give the 44 Pentacles of Solomon our best shot, because we'll go through all of them and we'll discuss the ways that we've used them and what we found them especially helpful for beyond what the text itself says, especially as we're going off of the McGregor Mathers edition.
Hmm.
But before we get into that, a little bit of housekeeping. Remember to check us out at twitter.com/frightful howls and patreon.com/the frightful howls. We have a bonus episode every month curated by and for just our patrons in the form of a Q&A. We have a Discord server with a really thriving, beautiful community. Always excited to have more people in there. Lots of memes, lots of fun, lots of workshopping magic. We have Salt's fantastic monthly almanac, a monthly live occult book club where we discuss a text of your choosing. The next one is Gemma Gary's Traditional Witchcraft, a Cornish Book of Ways. We also have show notes for every episode and more. We cherish everyone who supports us. It also helps us buy more $20 Amazon engraving pens.
The batteries for that same pen, you know.
Yes, and also more of those like sheets of like tin and lead you can get on Amazon and
Hmm.
copper for like and tin snips to make the pentacles. So it is a huge boon. Thank you so much. We only have one tier, and it's just $10. So it's come join us. Come talk to us on Discord. It's fun. Also, remember to give us a like, rating, and review on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you may be listening to us. It helps us fight the demiurge of the algorithm and get our work out there. Check out our services. Key offers personalized coaching and magic and mediumship, sorcery for hire, readings, and custom talismans, oils, tools. I offer bulk confinements readings, currently on hiatus until September of 2024. And Salt offers anything and everything astrological, be it horary, electional, or natal, as well as incense washing divination. Finally, hit us up on social media. On Instagram, I'm at Dragon Cunning, Salt is at SaltCNC, and the B is barnowl.key for key on Instagram. Okay. Pentacles.
Pentacles.
Pentacles. Huge shout outs to the fact that these have been our bread and butter for a little while because all of us, to greater and lesser degrees, are involved in traditions of magic that we cannot speak publicly about necessarily to the extent that we can if it's just in a book out there, right? We all have secrecy
Hmm.
taboos. We all have traditions that are oral that we're initiated in and that take up a lot of our time and dedication. And these are the main things we work. So one of the reasons why I got really into Pentacles and the PGM was I could actually talk about this stuff. You know, I could be like, hey, it's here. We can actually experiment with it and talk about it. And it's this interesting technology, especially the ones from the Lesser Key of Solomon, because they're so ubiquitous and every occult shop tends to sell them on like these shitty little pewter necklaces, which we
Yeah,
all
yeah.
own. This is not us. We're not shitting on it at all. Like it's great because we own them and we consecrate them. And we've also made them. Like we've made pretty much,
Mhm.
I would say I made all of them. To
Uh,
not necessarily on each perfectly like described metal, because the book also says you can do it on parchment of different colors as well. Exercise virgin paper, right? With
mhm.
the color and the ink of each planet. But like I've definitely like made all of them, whether it's in the metal or on like aluminum foil or on
Mhm.
parchment.
I'm in a very similar camp where making a very concerted effort to make all of them really paid
Mm,
off.
yeah.
Uh, I'm an enjoyer of the aluminum foil pentacle, if you will.
Well,
um,
I love that you made a bunch of the Mercury ones for your friends. This may be getting ahead of ourselves because we'll talk about this when we get to this particular pentacle. But like, you just started giving them to friends, and they're like, "What is this aluminum foil thing?" And you're just like, "Just put it on your PC. Don't worry about it." And then they were like, "Whoa, the luck do be coming in."
mhm. They're like, why every time do we run ICC and get invincible? Like, what is happening?
Oh, in World of Warcraft,
Yeah.
what is the percentage of that happening?
Oh, I don't even know. We got Mimiron's head and Sham out though for the nerds out there as well, which are even
Mm-hmm,
lower. Um,
mm-hmm.
fractions of 1%.
Yeah, amazing. And I've definitely used the same thing for gacha anime games to get the units that I want. But
Oh
again,
yeah.
we'll get to that when we get to that. But we've also experimented pretty extensively, not just with these pentacles, though we will be specifically covering the Key of Solomon ones. But there's other books that have pentacles. Shout out to the Book of Oberon, especially. Lots of really
Mhm.
interesting ones. Aconite Conjure on Instagram has been doing some really cool work with a lot of the Book of Oberon seals. Really, really easy to work with, and like, especially that section of the book, very
Mhm.
worth giving a shot. Obviously the Boxgrove manual as well, which was published by Frank Claassen in Making Magic in Elizabethan England, two early modern vernacular books of magic. One of the two is the Boxgrove manual. Has some really beautiful ones that I would love to do an episode on at some point as well.
Mhm.
Just doing our thing of putting it out there so we can make ourselves do it later because we have like a long Google Doc full of episode ideas and it just keeps growing, especially as people on the Discord server have been like suggesting things.
Mhm.
But yeah, and obviously the True Black Magic, right? La véritable magie
Yeah.
noire, a classic. So, and those are just three. Like there's many, many more that have pentacles and have been influenced by pentacle designs. But we're gonna stick to the Key of Solomon for this one because this is the one most ubiquitous and it's the one that we have the most experience testing.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I'm a big True Black Magic enjoyer, especially the Peterson edition, but this is this is home. This is the bread and
Mm.
butter.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And I discovered them as like in
Mhm.
my early teenage years and immediately started playing around with them on paper. And it was one of those things that like you can hide them, you can carry them, you can like do all kinds of things with them, and there's many different ways to consecrate them. There is obviously a method within the Key of Solomon. And we've done it all. We've done the OG style consecration with the original metals or, parchment and so on. We've done, with a tin, a chalk on the ground, all that good stuff, right? We've also done other kinds of consecrations where we've just done numbers of candles that are colored to the planet. So like blue for Jupiter and Jupiter's number is 4. So we put 4 candles around the edges and we consecrated it through prayers to Jupiter, even like the Orphic hymns and so on and so forth, right? Things that you wouldn't necessarily like you think like that wouldn't work because it's such an Abrahamic technology, right? But
Mhm.
like we were just playing around with it, seeing if it would work, and it did have an effect and indeed worked quite well. And I have to shout out Balthazar Black's Solomonic Hoodoo series, where he blends African American conjure with the pentacles further by making little mojo hands and candle spells through it. You can see this on his YouTube channel, which we'll link in the
Mhm.
show notes. But he does the angel names on the candles that surround it. He does the name of the presiding angel of the planet plus the name of the god associated with the planet. In the middle, and he consecrates one on parchment or on regular paper,
Mhm.
especially with like a chalk marker of the same color on like a plate that he washes and asperges beforehand. So like all these things have worked really, really well. And one of the reasons we kept trying out all these different methodologies was just to see that like, does it effectively make a difference? Including, does it make a difference if you engrave the pentacle in the hour and day of the planet, or is it more important that it's consecrated in the hour and day?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Having done a lot of a lot of experimenting on that front, it's like the consecration at the time seems to matter way more, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I found best results by engraving it in the day and hour of Mercury
Hmm.
and then just letting it chill until it's time to consecrate, be it a day, a week, or in even that moment.
Yeah, I've also found that like in general what matters most is the consecration, less the engraving.
Hmm.
I tried this in a few different ways. Like I have a set of Venus Pentacles I made out of copper that I engraved in like the Venus hour of Friday, with a bunch of different purity standards already met. And I consecrated them on a subsequent Venus day and hour,
Hmm.
especially as the moon was waxing leading up to the full moon. And that worked really, really well. I did the same thing with Pentacles that were also on copper and on parchment with green ink, um, without having drawn slash engraved them during the time associated with it. I just kind of did it in general. And then I tried it again, but it was still consecrated in the Venus hour and day, right?
Hmm.
And then I did another set with the Mercury hour being when I carved it. And the ones that worked the best were the ones that were both in the Venus hour, and the ones that were carved in the Mercury hour. And in the one case, the one that was just randomly made but still consecrated, in the Venus hour and day, also worked really well. And
Hmm.
so in this case, what I'm trying to say is like play around with them, like figure it out. These are like really interesting. Each of them have versicles or some kind of like, there's God names, there's angel names, there's psalms. They have their own inherent spirits to them. So talk to them. Like I talk to them like I do a root. Like I pick it up and I speak to it, and I dress up by the names of the angels on there. I will read the full psalm that's associated with it while I'm consecrating it. I'll carry it with me and remind it what I need done. I do that with everything though, like including
Hmm.
inanimate objects that are not consecrated, just because I'm an animist. So I'm just like, hi guys,
Hello,
Um,
toaster.
yeah, exactly. No, literally. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Hello. Yeah, my computer, everything. So it works for me, and I found that it's just really great. But if you can write on it, generally it's great. Oil paint markers are good on a terracotta bowl, right?
Hmm.
Using wax has worked really well. Um, Putting them on your palms with like body writing markers and stuff like that, and then just having gloves over them when you're out in winter can be really helpful for some things, depending on the pentacle.
Hmm.
Yeah,
One of the cool things as well, right, is like the spirits themselves tend to be amenable to, if not outright encouraging, like experimentation, innovation.
yeah,
And at very least, I have never had any issues with like them being pissed off or backlash or something like that. Even if something doesn't work on that try, I'll make it again in the next day and hour combo, and it'll work just fine. The spirit's like, hello.
yeah, exactly. And I think it's worth noting as well that once they are consecrated, these are in many ways living beings.
Hmm.
So treat them like that. Don't destroy them or throw them out. Let them live their lifespan. So if it's like a pentacle that's on parchment and it decays over time because of rain or because of smudging and stuff like that, that's one thing. You can give it a proper burial or burn it or something like that, and thank the spirits and release them from the parchment. But like, don't necessarily just start like mistreating them.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. Like even going so far as to like follow pretty diligently the grimoire's own storage instructions, storing them in white linen in a cabinet somewhere out of like the light when they're not in use, revealing them only at certain times, all that sort of thing,
Hmm.
can be
Yeah.
finicky a little bit.
Yeah, and also you want to attend to like correct astrological
Hmm.
timing, even if it's just planetary hours. And it's also good to like write as you're making it, like, speak the names of power out loud and we pray the psalm associated with it and so on. And but you can also have a lot of creative freedom with the way that you make them look, right? You can I've seen people color them in. I've seen people, make them really fancy, laser print them and etch them and stuff like that. And I found that so much works. I've talked a lot with Allison Tchaikovsky of Practical Occult, about some of this experimentation, and it's really remarkable. Like she's one of the pioneers of like finding new ways to like work pentacles and like designing like bracelets that have like a bunch of really congruent, matching sympathetic pentacles that you can wear at the same time, or having like a money clip, out of that you can hold your wallet or your money in, that has pentacles on it, or like a pillow that you put under your bed for dream sorcery and so on. So like there's a lot we can do, or like a compact
Mhm.
mirror. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
engraving like a Venus pentacle on a compact mirror is great, or for scrying, one of the solar pentacles of scrying, like the fourth, right? There's so much you can do. So, our goal with this episode is just to, one, like go over them. Like, this isn't going to be a history of the Key of Solomon as a text, or like, the different manuscript styles, the variations between the different pentacles that appear. For example, like the pentacles that appear in older manuscripts versus the ones that are here in the Mathers version of the List of Key of Solomon and so on. So like that is another topic for another day. We want to get to the 44 and discuss their uses, and just encourage everyone to like go out and go make these. Like get some aluminum foil in your kitchen and just like make one tonight. If the moon is right, and it's waxing, or the full, and you're able to spare some time to try one of these out. Like why not, right?
Mhm. There are definitely some that will flag as we get into it that are really worth doing.
Yes, yes, they're not all equal. Some are very niche, and some are also just very like your mileage may completely vary depending on their need. But we also want to demonstrate some of the ones that seem that way are also ones we've incorporated for more broader topics and found that it works.
Mhm.
So we'll go over that as well. Like we'll go over the description, we'll talk about like what it does, and then we'll talk about what we've done with it, and especially notable differences. Like, oh, this one really like works in this way. And one more thing I think was good to note is, since all our descriptions are from the Mathers version, um, is there's general guidelines given at the beginning, right? The pentacles are made of the metal that is most suitable to the planet, right? So for Saturn, that's lead. For Jupiter, it's tin. Mars is iron. Sun is gold. Venus is copper. Mercury is mixtures of metals. And Moon is silver. And of course, their colors as well. Saturn is black. Jupiter is blue. Mars is red, Sun is gold, or the color of yellow or citron.
Mhm.
Venus is green, Mercury is again mixed colors, and the moon is silver, or the color of Argentine earth. And I've seen people do purple as well, right?
Mhm.
So, and of course they can be made, on either exercise virgin parchment, with the ink of the color of the planet, that kind of thing, or in the metal. And so I wanted to make a quick note about the metals. I've done Saturn in lead, which is very soft, right?
Mhm.
And but also not everyone likes to work with lead, right? Because of its toxicity. I've also done Jupiter and tin. That is tin sheets are easy to buy, there, and so is lead, right? It's great for cursing tablets if you're into that kind of thing too, right? Mars with iron. Iron is hard.
Mhm.
Um, and I would say that I've done steel generally. And there's also mild steel, right?
Mhm.
So I would say that choose which one. I've worked with both and they both work really well, right? Just as a reminder, gold is expensive. What I've done, people usually do gold-plated brass, I've noticed, for the sun, or just brass itself. I found it's a little bit more expensive, but not by much, than gold-plated. But I would do gold-filled brass instead. It doesn't flake the way gold-plated does. It's much more durable, and it's only somewhat more expensive. It's not like too much, right? Or
Mhm.
to the point that you're breaking your bank. But gold-filled brass firm is what I would recommend, and most jewelry stores, or like the ones that like sell blanks and things of that nature for people who do crafts, you can usually find blank discs, some that are even pre-drilled at the top for like a hoop. It's like put in a jump ring into where it's a pendant. The ones that I've gotten that are just blanks that are like circles, I've sometimes drilled my own hole in the top, but if I wanted to like wear it or add a little jump ring. But yeah, gold filled brass is your best bet. Venus is copper, easy, easy, right? Mercury with the mixture, you've done aluminum a lot, aluminum foil.
Mhm.
Um, I've also done nickel silver. That's been my favorite to work with for Mercury. So like if you have seen my Mercury pentacles, they're
Mhm.
generally all nickel silver.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Any kind of alloy to metal that I've experienced with Mercury Pentacles has worked relatively equally in my day.
Mhm.
Um, like brass works pretty well.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um,
I just like the look of nickel silver because it's pretty and it's
yeah.
kind of still like it's got that like metalliciness that I like with Mercury. Thinking of like Quicksilver and stuff. And
Hmm.
then
Hmm.
for silver, sterling silver discs are available in many places. I'll link a few places where I buy my blanks from in the show notes for folks who are interested on the Patreon. Because there's like a beyond like Amazon, there's definitely like jewelry blanks and supplies stores, but most will have them. So just Google like jewelry blank or jewelry blank supply and say like sterling silver disc, like 2 inch or something like that, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Because as the grimoire notes, they can be any size. The size is arbitrary as long as they're made according to the rules, and and that you've adored and revered the holy names of God upon them. Pure in body and mind, without blemish, and do not omit the preparations. Also, the key was revealed by an angel. Shoutouts.
Shout out to that
Yeah, yeah.
guy.
Thank you. All right.
We should probably, before we get straight into it, say this grimoire is available for free online.
Yes, Esoteric Archives,
Mhm.
our favorite. It's all there, and many PDFs on that you just like search let's like of Solomon Pentacles or something like that. It will come up. And there are some great resources as well. S. Alderney from Hadean Press has an excellent little chapbook called The Pentacles of Solomon that consolidates all of the information, gives you the English translation, the Latin translation, the versicles, or what's around it, tells you exactly what the names are and so on and what it's for, and has these like handy dandy little like pages that's just like here's all the ones of Jupiter and what they do. So you can kind of like
Mhm.
reference it as an index. I carry this book literally with me at times because it's a really good reference. Sarah Almastros has a book called The Sorcery of Solomon, A Guide to the 44 Planetary Pentacles of the Magician King, which we referenced for this episode a great deal because she's able to like go into the Hebrew specifically and look into
Mhm.
like what are the root words that make up the angel names. So if you're interested in that, definitely check out her book. She also has her own kind of experiments and thoughts about the pentacles. And definitely, obviously, check out Agrippa's 3 books because they are foundational for a lot of this stuff as well. Are the great as our godfather Jesse Hathaway Diaz says, the great copy paster of magic is
Yeah.
our boy Agrippa.
So my favorite sort of substitution ciphers that he includes in there, like the crossing the river script and all that fun stuff that in Sarah Mastros's book she also decodes
Yeah.
and is like, these names are all kinds of messed up, so here's my best guess at what it's supposed to be. Which are often very well educated guesses, which I appreciate.
Indeed. Well, Key, would you like to start us? Oh, it's the Key of Solomon.
Oh man. I would love to start us off. We can get right into the Pentacles of Saturn because we're going in the sort of reverse Chaldean order today.
Yeah, it's the one that like Mathers uses, and it's the one that most books use. Masters' text goes in ascending Chaldean order, so hers starts with the moon.
Mhm.
But yeah, let's keep it fresh, keep it fancy, keep it brat summer, and okay, let us know what we got with the Saturn.
All right, so Pentacle of Saturn number one, the square. Um,
It is a square, yeah.
yeah, so this is a 4x4 word square. Mather says that this pentacle is of great value and utility for striking terror into the spirits, wherefore, upon its being shown to them, they submit, and kneeling upon the earth before it, they obey. Which, nice.
Brat Tamer Key. This and also I think good to note too is that the versicle around it is from Psalm 72:9.
Mhm.
This is where David is singing over the infant Solomon, right? So it's kind of interesting, right? It's like literally like singing to the very man whose this magic is revealed to. And it is they that dwell in the wilderness shall bow before him, and his enemies shall lick the dust. Very,
Nice.
yeah, very key core this pentacle is.
I'm a fan of this one.
Yeah.
You know I love word squares.
You do. Yeah.
You know I love obedience.
You
Yeah.
fucking do. Yeah.
um, so in this square, from top to bottom, we have four different four-letter names of God. Um, Mastros in her book points out that this exact list also appears in the 13th century, the Book of Contemplation.
Yeah, you have the Yod Hey Vav Hey, you have Adonai, you have AI, and you have AA. And it's a I think, the whole thing about striking like terror into spirits and they submit, this is just a great one to have on hand, right? In terms
Mm-hmm.
of when you're going out into cemeteries, when you're going to places where there's spirits that are fairly unruly and are known to be disobedient and are known to kind of play tricks on you, it's a good one to have to kind of like give them pause. So it's
Mm-hmm.
nice on like a thin sheet of lead to just carry around or to have on like the outside of like your Liber Spiritum or something if you like carry your book with you as you go.
Mm-hmm. If you need to be carrying a ton of offerings in like a bag, put it on the outside of the bag and be like, "This isn't for you guys. Come on, don't try to steal these."
Yeah, yeah, literally. It's just when you need something warded, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good to have.
hmm Especially if you're gonna be conjuring spirits that like you have to bind to get them to be agreeable. This is a good one to have like on the near you in the ritual space. Like I've had this inside the circle when I've done certain kinds of conjurations. It's just an extra piece of armor. I'm
Mhm.
sure it'd be great to have like clipped onto the lion skin belt or something.
Yeah, you got the all of your pentacles, many of which we will talk about today, are deserve a place on that belt.
hmm
Um,
It's
but
like the Thanos glove.
yeah, yeah, like my pentacles are jingle jangling. You must listen.
Yeah, literally.
My pentacles are too powerful for you.
For you traveler, yeah.
Yeah.
Pentacle seller.
Oh man.
I
Um,
desire your strongest pentacles. All right.
so number two is an even stronger pentacle. It's the big square. This is pentacle is of great value against adversaries and of especial use in repressing the pride of spirits. This is a satyr square
Mhm.
that is surrounded by a versicle from Psalm 72:8, which was right before the previous one. So it's he shall have dominion also from sea to sea and from river unto the ends of the earth.
We do love
Um,
a Satyr Square. We have like so many times been like, go make a Satyr Square and try and put out a fire with it, like a
mhm,
controlled fire or something. One of our patrons asked Key, like, can you show us? Because he like made a video for the Discord group that was like him putting out a fire with it, and you can just see like he flicks the pentacle, sorry, the Satyr square onto it, and it like completely extinguishes it. And she asked like, oh, can we do a control? So he did like 10 squares that just say control on them, and then 10 squares of paper of the same parchment that is a Satyr square. And consecrated and everything like that. And he's like flicking them, and like the control ones are burning, and the Satyr squares are putting the fire out at the same amount of fire in the same vessel. It's great, and they're very
mhm.
flexible, right? So,
Yeah, definitely.
and it's traced as far back as Roman graffiti and late antiquity and Pompeii, right? It's a wonderful
Mhm,
cantrip. And this pentacle is great because one, a lot of these like repress the pride of spirits, especially of a particular planet. This one doesn't specify it's specifically Saturnian spirits whose pride it represses. So it's great for everything. I've used this a lot to deal with people who are very competitive and
mhm.
are attempting to undermine me in a business setting. So this is a great one to take to interviews, take to debates, to take to situations in which you might have like some kind of social friction going on. It's really good to humble people and to make them feel like your shadow is just looming so large, so they really shouldn't be fucking with you.
Mhm. Yeah, like if someone is constantly talking over you, like put this thing on the ground, stick a tongue of some creature on there, and just be like, well, here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You can totally like sprinkle domination herbs on this one and carry it in your pocket when you're going to like a particularly bad like boss or something like that. It's just great for boss fixing in
Hmm.
general, right? Because when it says suppressing the pride of spirits, just know that like people are also spirits, right?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I've had in kind of interrogating spirits about how they perceive pentacles like this. This particular one they've described as like sludgy and extremely confusing to look at.
Hmm.
So it's like just kind of gloms onto people and like it's sticky. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Hmm.
All right. So number three, this is the wheel. This the wheel.
These are not official
Yeah,
names.
our our notes are we had fun with
Yeah.
it. So um, this is one of many wheels we will be talking about today.
Hmm.
So interestingly, Mathers specifies that this pentacle should be made within the magic circle. There's a whole circle and consecration for it described in the Key of Solomon. And it is good to use at night when you invoke spirits of the nature of Saturn. Um, this is the first of many in a genre of pentacle we'll be looking at today that are, instead of having like a psalm or another verse, it is the name of four spirits that are very clearly under the Saturnian, in this case, sphere.
Hmm.
Usually, there is a chief one among them whose name will be derived from the Hebrew name for the given planet, and then three that have qualities of that name.
Yeah. So in this case, the names around the rim are Ameliel, Anetzachia, Arochia, and Anachiel. As we mentioned, Masters does a good job of like looking into the Hebrew roots of a lot of these names. And this one in particular, she notes that for Ameliel, the root seems to be to work or to toil. It could also be hardship or travail. And its Sakya seems to come from to excel or to be infinite, to be victorious, to endure, like Netzach, right? Like the Sephiroth.
Mhm.
And but the Aleph at the beginning moves it to first person future tense, such as I will prevail. And then Arokia seems to come from like the long lasting, the long face. And Anakiel appears to come from like moaning, which could mean like Goetia, sorcery, like moaning,
Mhm.
wailing.
Love some sorceress wailing.
Hmm. Yeah, I love an angel who like groans barbarous names.
Yeah, yeah. So always fun to see those guys.
Hmm.
Just kind of shuffling along in the graveyards.
Literally, yeah. This one, really good to put on the back of other Saturn pentacles to increase their efficacy. So if you like cut out like a circle out of lead and you do like your dominant pentacle on one side, you can put this on the back to kind of boost its power.
Mhm.
Which some people like to sell, like the pentacles, like the one out of the list that will be to invoke the spirits of that particular planet, you'll put on the reverse of another one to kind of like give it that extra oomph.
Mhm. Mhm. It's a good trick.
Yeah. I also like when I've done like drawing spirits into crystals, I've just like had this one drawn in chalk, like
Yeah.
underneath the table of practice, just because I was like, well, I'm summoning Cassiel tonight, you know?
Mhm. Like help me out, guys.
Yeah, like he wasn't lying. That pentacle do be invoking the spirits of the nature of Saturn.
It really is, yeah. It's like that is, in my opinion, why it's like worth considering for making it in the circle, because it's like, damn, they are here.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I don't know if I want that much Saturn all in one place at the same time.
yeah. King Solomon did not lie with that one. Thank you,
Mhm.
pseudepigraphy.
Oh man. All right. Next one is the triangle. It's the fourth pentacle of Saturn. The pentacle serves principally for executing all of the experiments and operations of ruin, destruction, and death. And when it is made in full perfection, it serves also for those spirits which bring news when you invoke them from the side of the south.
It is
Um,
this is a nasty boy one.
Yeah, it's one of the nastiest.
I've been a nasty girl, nasty.
The the angel who who channeled this grimoire. It wasn't mine. It
Yeah.
was indeed a nasty girl this brat summer. Um, but yeah, befitting of being a nasty girl, the versicle is from Deuteronomy.
Is that what you call guys?
Nasty.
Oh man, it's chapter 6, verse 4.
You don't have to answer. That's fine. Yeah,
Gentlemen. So the verse is, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord," which is actually a very common verse to find on amulets or phylacteries or in other forms of written talisman.
Yes, it's in the Jewish tradition for sure. Like those are also you can see those on like plenty of different like rolled up phylacteries that are like put in walls or like kept on the person and so on.
Mhm.
The versicle is Psalm 109:18. As he clothed himself with cursing, like as with a garment, so let it come into his bowels like water, and like oil into his bones. Which is a great one to use when you're, reversing magic, right?
Mhm.
Telling some, as that person attempts to curse you or clothe himself, with curses and so on, right? Then let this be returned to him. And in the center of the triangle is a letter Yod. I think the part of it being used to bring news, if it's made in perfection, is really interesting.
Mhm.
I have not personally used this to bring news like for like only that purpose because I'm like very sensitive to the fact that it otherwise brings ruin, right, and destruction and death. So like I've done
Mhm.
other kinds of magic to bring news. Mastros also talks about this in the book. She says like there's other kinds of magic she'd be more happy to resort to if she wanted to learn new information than this one. However, I will say if this is used to be a nasty girl, and bring ruin, destruction, and death, its spirits do bring the news of this working or not.
Mhm.
So it's great for political magic, right? Especially if you're trying to like, if there's some kind of mayoral candidate in somewhere in your local vicinity that's gonna cause a lot of problems for your city, and they're getting really popular because they're a far right populist. I'm not saying to make 3 copies of it and bury it around their campaign headquarters. But I am saying that's a thing that could be done.
Noted possibility of the world.
Yes. I'm also not saying to draw it on a piece of paper that you printed at the location of a building that you
Mhm.
cannot easily access and then reduce it to ash and then sprinkle around that building because you can't bury things there because of the concrete. But I am saying it could be done. Poppets could absolutely be pinned on this that you've stuffed with the links of people and put the puppet upside down. You could also use it as like you could draw on the lid of a cursing jar that you just keep like war water and stuff in there that you keep like shaking. All kind, nasty
Mhm.
girls will use it for nasty things.
Nasty.
And
I'm not saying you can go to a crypt and lay this out very carefully in gunpowder and light it and leave that there and do funny things with it. In fact, I'm saying don't do that.
Mhm.
But I am saying,
In Minecraft, you could do that.
it is a possibility in the world that can be done.
Mhm. Yes, but great for political magic, genuinely.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's also really interesting that it's like a triangle, right? Like you can really like you could do some stuff with that.
Oh yeah.
Like
Oh yeah.
conjuring the spirit of the person that is going to be the recipient of the ruin in the middle in the
Mhm.
triangle, right?
It's
Uh
the little yod in there, the divine spark that's inside of everyone.
yes, yes, exactly, and trapping it there like a little spirit trap.
Mhm.
Be creative, guys.
Yeah, be creative.
I'm we're not your parents. Key is not your daddy.
Asterisk.
Nasty.
Oh man. Um, all right. So
Number
the
five.
the fifth, the sideways square, the rhombus, if you will, the pentacle that defends those who invoke the spirits of Saturn during the night and chases away the spirits which guard treasures. Another fantastic pentacle to have on your Lionskin belt. A versicle on this one is from Deuteronomy 10:17. For the Lord your God is God of gods, a Lord of lords, a great God, a mighty, and a terrible, which regardeth not persons, nor taketh reward.
That's the full verse. Some of the other ones, like we've only read the part that's on the pentacle. I think with this one, it's good to see what the full verse is, because the part that's actually on the pentacle is the great God, mighty and terrible part.
Mhm.
And the pentacle also has two sets of divine names on it. The tetragrammaton, the Yod He Vav He, is there, and so is the Eloah. And there's four sets of angelic names around it: Arhana, Rachaniel, Rualchipar, and Noyafial. And Mistress actually notes that the first one, Arhana, may come from the original Temple Solomon story, which is told in the second book of Samuel and the first book of Chronicles. And in this context, God is angry with King David, a plague descends, and it's stopped by an angel at the threshing floor of a man whose name can be rendered as Aruana, Ariana, or the Avrana. And it's only to this angel that King David acknowledges his guilt and he begs for mercy on behalf of his people, which then allows God to soften and halt the plague. So it's really interesting that this name reappears here on this very pentacle that's meant to chase away spirits that guard treasures and invoke the spirits of Saturn, right?
Mhm.
So regarding chasing away the spirits that protect treasures, put this pentacle on a shovel or a spade or something. Like, you
Mhm.
know you have your necromancy kit, right? Like when you're going out and gathering dirt, when you're going out and gathering things and you want to make sure you're safe. This is a great one to just engrave on the back of your dollar store spade, as I have. It's not lead, but it did work.
Yeah, definitely. Useful to have on tools like that, useful to have on strips of parchment that are like pre-prepared. So if I'm digging something out of the ground doing my weird treasure hunting shit and things start to go awry, shall we say, just toss one of those in there or like light it and drop the ashes in.
Mm,
It's always been fun.
mm. It's also another good one to have on like the outside of your like Liber Spiritum or like your
Yeah,
book
definitely.
of spirits. Yeah.
Hmm. Or if you're being uh, up to some business at night, you know, leaving your body, going places, seeing a man about a horse in a horse barn because you're doing the toad bone. Uh, you know, this one is quite fun to have.
Hmm.
You know, it's protection from things that go bump in the night and protection to you when you are the thing going bump in the night.
Indeed, indeed.
All right, so number 6 is probably my favorite of the Saturn ones because of how nasty it is. It is the wheel the second, but it's got these like very pronounced kind of 8 spokes. And Mather says around this pentacle is each name symbolized as it should be. The person against whom thou shalt pronounce it shall be obsessed by demons. Um, so the versicle around this is the famous imprecatory Psalm 109, verse 6, which is set thou a wicked man over him, and let Satan stand at his right hand.
Yeah.
Um, one of the techniques with this one that I really love is actually from Véritable Magie Noire,
Hmm.
um, which is that like you know you kind of write the name of the person who you would like to be obsessed by demons around the spokes one letter at a time, so it's spiraling kind of inward, and that allegedly you know will cause their own inward and downward spiral into those very demons that already might have a propensity to haunt them.
Hmm. In Masters' book, she does say that like while this is good at like obviously getting people to be obsessed with demons and so on, she says this also makes your targets harder to control and less predictable. So she advises against using it in like for this or just using it in general. And I would say this is actually fairly true in the sense that people can and will go absolutely bananas, and this can backfire. A curse is an assault, right? It is motion
Mhm.
assault. It's physically hurting somebody with the intent to maim or dismember, right? Like this is like a real form of violence, right? So it's not something to like, it's we leave that to you if you choose to do it. Just be aware that it is there's no pretending otherwise that this is not an assault. So be ready to face what that is for you, right? Um, but I would say for this one, also it's hard to pull punches with curses. Like you might be like, oh, I'll just do a confusion spell or something on this person so that they're too confused to get the job. But what if they're so confused that they can't drive properly on the highway and they get into an accident, right?
Mhm.
So that disclaimer aside, I think it is important to know that this is also a really easy pentacle to deploy on someone who's already kind of sloppy with their demon work. So this is somebody who is like into demon magic or is not particularly good at always being having clear boundaries with spirits that are known to be testy and are known to be disloyal and are known to resent the conjurer and so on, right? This can make them sloppy with their protocols and protections and can be a real way to undermine another sorcerer's magic.
Definitely. It's a very good thing to have in the arsenal, you know.
Even for just like getting something like demons to come in and be present when the person is conjuring other kinds of spirits without them necessarily having a discernment to notice that something's off. This isn't really
Mhm.
this is one of the reasons why like the grimoires are so obsessed with like getting the spirit to admit who they are. Because it's like, do you swear you are really the spirit? Is this a different being that came up and is like substituting for them,
Mhm.
Like, are you really, do you swear you are who you say you are? Is so that precisely that doesn't happen.
Mhm. This one is also really good to employ in protections against people divining about you accurately.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they start poking and prodding around, there is enough of a connection there that these very demons that sort of flutter around this pentacle when made correctly will follow that and maybe cause a shuffle to go a bit awry in the actual will of the spirit that you're communicating with through whatever implement to be obfuscated.
Mm. Last one.
Last one is another triangle.
It's upside
uh,
down this time.
oh yeah, it's the reverse. And this pentacle is fit for exciting earthquakes, seeing that the power of each order of angels herein invoked is sufficient to make the whole universe tremble. Most sources correctly translate the psalm around the rim, but attribute it to Psalm 18:8. It is actually Psalm 18:7. Then the earth shook and trembled. The foundations also of the hills or mountains moved and were shaken because he was angry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for whatever reason, like this, I would say that in most versions, including S. Alderney and Masters' books, it says it's the correct verse it's given. It's just that they say it's 18:8, but it's actually 18:7. It's the one before.
Mhm.
And when Mathers says that there's like all these powers of angels, right, that are invoked in order, we have around the triangle and inside of it the names of 9 orders of angels, the holy living creatures, the wheels, the thrones, the brilliant ones, the fiery ones, the kings, the gods or the deities, and the sons of Elohim and the cherubim. So it is the famous pentacle that causes earthquakes, right? Plenty of sources that we've read to talk about this are like, don't do it because it works. So be very careful because it will cause an earthquake. And it's interesting because I think that another way it can be used is to literally destabilize organizations or
Mhm.
structures, right? So for example, like now, can you bury multiple ones in a Saturn Kamiya or something like that and actually cause an earthquake? Absolutely. But it's also used for destroying structures, right? But be aware it can be very literal. So it's one thing to be like, I'm going to undermine this entire political campaign, or I'm going to undermine this entire police precinct or something like that. That's one thing, but be aware that like it is going to also potentially cause an earthquake. And and like or some kind of tremors, right? So like I found that give it to your spirits and have them use it, deploy it for you in ways that cause fundamental like destabilization.
Mhm. Mhm. It's a very wonderful one.
Mhm.
um, Deploying tech that we've spoken of on the podcast before that you really inspired me with of like draw the Kamiya over a location and then deploy things in the order of the square. Doing that with this particular pentacle at a building in that order with the 3x3 Saturnian Kamiya is interesting.
All right, it's Jupiter time. The first pentacle of Jupiter, the wheel. It's another one of the wheel ones. Mather says, "This serveth to invoke the spirits of Jupiter, and especially those whose names are written around the pentacle, among whom Parasiel is the lord and master of treasures, and teacheth how to become possessor of places wherein they are." Interestingly, Masters really recommends using it for helping clients with their credit scores. Given the idea of teaching you to become possessor of places in which the treasure is, right? Personally, I've used this to help with inheritance disputes as well. For back in the day when I took on more clients publicly, it was definitely a situation where like this was great for inheritance disputes or disputes between peoples who were co-members of a board of directors. Or were like multiple people who had invested a lot of money and had bought stock in a particular company and so on. Around the rim are 4 angel names, Nathaniel, Doachia, Sedakia, and Parasiel. There's a really great analysis on the Jovian qualities of these names in the Hebrew by Mastros in her book. So Nathaniel, she notes, comes from Natan, which is a word meaning to give or a gift, right? And so, for example, the name could be like El will have given a treasure of jovial bounty. Parasiel comes from a root which means to spread out or divide. It can also mean reward, treasure, or prize. We also have Duachia, right, which comes from Duach, which is like a divine name, or also to like rinse away. So this is another one of the ones that can be used to like power up other pentacles to be put on the reverse, right? Because it invokes the spirits of Jupiter. Because it's names Parasiel so explicitly, I would talk to them, like conjure them, speak to them, ask them to help with land claims, disputes, distribution of wealth, assist with charity cases, right? Allow somebody's GoFundMe to go viral, that kind of thing. Lots of things you could do with this one, but also great for empowering other pentacles.
Good as well in my experience. Like if you are trying to get a promotion in an environment where it's very difficult to do so, if there's a very fixed pay structure and like sort of HR progression thing that's based on experience, this pentacle and the spirits therein have some pretty creative, shall we say, workarounds to those sort of things.
For sure. The second pentacle of Jupiter is the hexagram, as we've called it. This is proper for acquiring glory, honors, dignities, riches, and all kinds of good, together with great tranquility of mind. Need that. Also to discover treasures and chase away the spirits who preside over them. It should be written upon a virgin parchment with the pen of a swallow and the blood of a screech owl.
No.
So after I bled Key out, I and hooked up his veins to my quill of a swallow. Having made this on parchment, we had to inscribe the versicle from Psalm 112, 3, which is, "Wealth and riches shall be in his house, and his righteousness endureth forever." If you don't have a hand any Strix to bleed, there are certainly PGM things you can do to substitute this, but we got lucky and found that owl too. And that was warm. So the blood was indeed there. This also has worked without the owl, by the way. I've done it in a quill in which I added an owl feather and dipped it in dragon's blood ink, and it worked just fine. So that's been my workaround, but I also did it with actual owl blood.
This one I've done with just like blue ink on parchment before, just the usual sort of deal, working around the swallow and the screech owl. Barring the fact that I'm like, it counts, I'm an owl.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it tends to get the job done regardless. There's enough virtue there, in my opinion, that it still will function.
Inside the hexagram are several divine names, including the tetragrammaton, the Yod He Vav He, Ehyeh, and Ab. It's great for treasure and enriching people, right? So fundraising, grant applications, scholarships, big grants and awards, right? That's what I've used it for, and it's very good. make it on tin even has worked. You know, I like the parchment. And it's been great to just keep on top of like a document, like printed out documents that are all the paperwork I had to file for a thing.
Yeah, yeah. This is one of the classic 1% opacity on the job resume pentacles to use.
Yes. The third pentacle of Jupiter, which I've called Big Jupe.
Massive.
This defendeth and protecteth those who invoke and cause the spirits to come. When they appear, show unto them this pentacle, and immediately they will obey. So this is another key favorite because it causes them to immediately obey. And even if you're not a daddy dom, it's a very good one to have for just kind of general ability to command spirits, because it has that like Jovian like kingship, capacity, right? And it's also interesting to note that inside the pentacle you have Adonai and Yod He Vav He again, but then you also have from Agrippa the seal of Jupiter plus the intelligence of Jupiter being Jophiel, right? And Mastros points out this is one of the named angels that buried Moses. So again, this and who is also the intelligence of Jupiter in Agrippa. So this is a great one protection, right? The versicle is from Psalm 125:1. They that trust in the Lord shall be as Mount Zion, which cannot be removed, but abideth forever. So yeah, I've put this on windows, cars, doors, everything. You know, just like it's great protection, great for making things obey. Great for 1% opacity on other kinds of pictures of you.
Oh,
I've
man.
never done that. That's not my vibe. You've never done that. You have no profile picture. But I know of someone who did, and it was very funny.
It's one that I like to just put very surreptitiously somewhere in the house. So if some spirit rolls up being a bit unruly at my door and manage to poke their way and be like, hey, candles, food, please, I'm like, look at that.
Yeah.
And they're
Behold,
like,
pocket pentacle. The fourth pentacle of Jupiter I call everyone's favorite. It serveth to acquire riches and honor and to possess much wealth. Its angel is Bariel. It should be engraved upon silver in the day and hour of Jupiter when he is in the sign of Cancer. So this one is not on tin. This one is on silver. And Jupiter is not often in Cancer because Jupiter is not often in anything. It's a slow-moving planet, right? So the next time, we're recording this in 2024, the next time that Jupiter will be in Cancer is going to be, at least on the east coast of North America, will be June 2025 to June 2026. And then after that, the next time will be May 2037, 11 years later, to June of 2038. So make them then. However, I've gotten this to work without the election. I'm sure it will be way better with the election. Like, I'm confident that the results would be even more amazing. And that it would not just be getting me like certain sums of money, it would be getting me a whole other digit. So put this on your calendar. Because once Jupiter enters Cancer, I'm gonna be on all of you guys and be like, have you made it? Have you made it? Make a bunch, make so many over that year that you can just keep giving them out.
Yeah. Stock up for the next 11 years.
Yeah. And the versicle is actually the same as the second pentacle of Jupiter. It's the Psalm 112:3, the wealth and riches one. And under the box, there's like a little square on the left-hand side of the pentacle is the name Bariel, right? Which we mentioned that the angel of this pentacle is Bariel. And Master says that the root is from a verb to fatten. So this increase of wealth, right? Jupiter being increase and germination.
Classic for the like cash boxes, money boxes, put in your wallet.
Yeah. For those of you who worked with Jason Miller's stuff or have read his financial sorcery book, there's like the whole cash box thing. Delemin Ra also has an excellent course in Solomonic Hoodoo that involves a similar kind of cash box that he derived and kind of updated from Miller's version. So many of you have just probably seen this around on the blue cash boxes that I made way back in the day. I saw them. It was like 18 years old. I read Jason's book and I was like, hey, cool. I went to like the dollar store. I bought a little pine wood box. I painted it blue and I made that shit with like a gold pen. on the outside, put the kami on the inside of the lid, put a bunch of herbs and like gator claws in there. It's serving me well. To
Oh,
this
yeah.
very day, it is next to my St. Expedite's shrine, actually.
So one final note on that one. Bariel is just a wonderful spirit. Call him.
Yeah. The fifth pentacle of Jupiter, I'm calling it Jacob's ladder. This hath great power. It serveth for assured visions. Jacob, being armed with this pentacle, beheld the ladder which reached unto heaven. So this versicle is from Ezekiel 1:1. I was among the exiles by the Kebara River. The heavens were opened, and I saw visions of God. So immediately there's this connection that Mastros notes with Masech Merkava, the ecstatic form of Jewish mysticism, intended to partially recreate Ezekiel's experience of riding the chariot into the heavens and exploring its palaces. This is great for visions of when you're dreaming and also visions for when you're awake. It's also great for being under the pillow, but don't keep it there. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you will never have a rest. So just like take it out when you're not using it, put it back in its silk pouch, right? And then, use it when you need it. The sixth pentacle of Jupiter, the cross, it serveth for protection against all earthly dangers by regarding it each day devoutly and repeating the versicle which surroundeth it, which is, thus shalt thou never perish. And the versicle is from Psalm 22:16-17. They pierced my hands and my feet. I may tell all my bones. And actually, Master just points out that this psalm is generally associated with its first verse, which is, my, why hast thou forsaken me? Why art thou so far from helping me and from the words of my roaring? Jews tend to associate this with King David. Christians obviously associate with Jesus. And of course, there's the cross itself on the pentacle. So no matter your faith background, this is an excellent one to use, obviously for protection, right? Divine protection. The names on the cross are Seraph, Kerub, Ariel, and Tarshish with the directional quarters. And it's excellent, especially when it says earthly dangers. I've used this for protection against disease. During the pandemic for COVID-19, I and a friend of mine cut this out of like paper that was blue, like construction paper, and we cut it out with an X-Acto knife. So basically the idea being that if you put it on a window where the light shines in, it will shine through each Hebrew letter and the cross itself, like just like the actual gaps that we cut out, and then it shines the entire design of the pentacle on the floor. So obviously we did this in reverse, right? It was like it was flipped so that when the light shines in, it looks upright in its when it goes on the floor, right? And this, neither of us got COVID, which was great. Now there were other precautions. Sorry, go ahead.
It was such a fantastic design. When I saw that, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. And also, like, we obviously other precautions against COVID, including other kinds of disease things, but we use this to like bless the house, right? So that even when friends are over, or even when things are slowly breaking out of quarantine, it's just making sure that like it just washes over you and it kind of like UV rays you when you come home. Because especially for those of us who were essential workers, right? It's a great little cleanse. The seventh pentacle of Jupiter, the wheel again, wheels, it hath great power against poverty. If thou considerest it with devotion, repeating the versicle, it serveth furthermore to drive away those spirits who guard treasures and discover the same. The versicle is Psalm 113:7. He raiseth up the poor out of the dust and lifteth the needy out of the dunghill. So this, a lot of people, this is not a new innovation at all. A lot of people keep this in the wallet as an anti-poverty device on parchment, or tape it, near where they keep their credit cards. It's great also for protecting and discovering treasures. Yes, I've personally used it when helping unemployed friends or those in need find a job. I found this one's really good for including in petitions or writing a petition over it that helps a friend find a job, especially if they're struggling with the particular job market of their career.
Very similar to what other people do. I like to inscribe this one on like a $2 bill. Just keep that on me at all times,
I keep that motherfucking thing on me.
Literally, yeah.
It's a $2 bill with the seventh pentacle of Jupiter.
Some talismans that are less fun but more fun in different ways. The Pentacles of Mars. I love a smooth transition.
I love a smooth transition.
All right, the first pentacle of Mars. It is proper for invoking spirits of the nature of Mars, especially those which are written in the pentacle. This follows the usual formula of those four spirits. These in particular are Madimel, from Madim, which is Hebrew for Mars. It can also mean red clay, which is always fun. Um, then the next one, which I always butcher, so my apologies in advance, but Britzaya, which is the much desired god. Eshiel, which is from the root esh, for fire. It's like an onomatopoeia of fire kind of whooshing
Mhm.
into the air. And Ithuriel, which Masterus says is like roughly with the light of God.
So another great one to put on the back of our Pentacles to boost them up.
Mhm. Definitely, yeah. Or just having on you even in like kind of adversarially aligned evocations. Just because you're going into it expecting a fight, and this will let you kind of temper that impulse of those spirits from really trying to beef with you. So the second one, this pentacle serveth with great success against all kinds of diseases, if it be applied unto the afflicted part.
I love this one.
Mhm. This is like the best. If there's a real MVP, it's the second pentacle of Mars.
It's so good for healing things. Like, we've erased scrapes, bruises, sped up healing of bones, eliminated illnesses, like all the good stuff.
Mhm. Definitely, yeah. It's a fantastic tool. Like it's very miraculous. The versicle for this pentacle is "In him was life, and the life was the light of man." John 1:4. Yeah, very very good. Interestingly, the with the design of this pentacle, right? There's like a wheel of the letter hey, like around the inside, and really interestingly, Mastros is speculating that the root of hey is from Hillel, in like kind of the roots that it shares with Egyptian and other Semitic languages, which means jubilation or like joy. It's literally like a guy jumping for joy. So I like that effect of the talisman. That's a really cool like innovation,
Yeah.
for healing stuff. And one of the other things that I've done with this one is got a little funky with it, which is that I've like chalked it out on to um, the ground or like a working table before, and arranged candles dressed with like healing oils and things on the haze, and then manipulated an effigy of the person to be healed inside, like set a bone inside of it back into place, or like rinsed away the brow of the thing with like cold water if I'm trying to break a fever in someone. And I find it does pretty well with that. Then number 3, it is of great value for exciting war, wrath, discord, and hostility.
Everyone's gonna like check their app. Don't worry. That was just we edited in the sound.
It's how we excite war, wrath,
Yeah.
and hostility, and a little bit of discord.
Yeah.
Oh man. Also for resisting enemies and striking terror into rebellious spirits. The names of God, the all powerful, are therein expressly marked. Yeah, the Triforce.
And the versicle is from Psalm 77, 13. What God is as great as our God?
And one of the interesting pieces of commentary by Mastros was that specifically the use of Eloah as the divine name, as opposed to El or Elohim, is specifically to show spirits that the bearer of this talisman has like a sort of blessing about them, or like a mantle of authority upon them that grants some kind of ritual superiority over the spirit being interfaced with.
It's also this section of the psalm is also in 76:14. They both have the who is the great God like our God. And And I would say that for this one, because again, it's a triangle, right? So you can totally summon an enemy into it. It can be used to, again, strike terror to, and cause wrath. This is great for getting groups to turn on each other,
Mhm.
or to excite conflict. So for example, like again, really good for political stuff, really good for getting an opposing team to be dismantled, with like petty infighting, get, the kind of thing where people get like paranoid and start like witch hunting each other. Like if there's like an enemy in a group that is actively giving you hell or is like oppressing you, I mean, if there are cops, like all kinds of things. This can be used to cause like all kinds of discord with like internal investigations and slowing things down bureaucratically and stuff like that. Yeah, there's many uses.
Oh yeah. All right, number 4. It is of great virtue and power in war. Wherefore, without doubt, it will give the victory. Um, it's a good one to have. The versicle is Psalm 110:5, which is, "The Lord at thy right hand hath broken kings in the day of his wrath." Um, there's a variety of reference as to who the thy in this might be, all of which are very interesting. You know, presumably you could be David. All sorts of
Mhm.
fun. Um,
Mhm.
adds those layers of interpretation that you can always conjure out of it.
God, yeah.
So the names inscribed are El, the Tetragrammaton, and Agla. And interestingly, as a contemporary sort of innovation or use, Masters links this pentacle pretty strongly to St. George's Cross. They are visually strikingly similar, and
Mhm.
recommends wearing this pentacle on the same chain or alongside, or even engraving it on the reverse of a St. George medal.
Which I think is really interesting as well as a use because it grants victory, right? So it's a good thing to
Mhm.
carry on your person in general, including like if you have like a little St. George medal or like a bigger one of him, like a keychain, you can put this on the back.
This is one that can be used for far pettier things as well. I have brought this to Magic the Gathering tournaments, and you know, I'm just saying, if believing in the heart of the cards is a literal luck talisman, like I can.
Yes, yes, I love it.
Mhm.
That's awesome. Yeah, you show up there glistening because you've showered and you got deodorant and you're just ready to wreck. Yeah.
Legit, my hot pink sleeves because it frustrates people to no end.
Oh yeah, you do have hot pink sleeves like the on your cards. I always thought that was so strange because I'm just like, Key, you're like, this is so not your aesthetic, but now I know it's because it pisses people off to lose to a hot pink deck. You're just it's actually so in character.
Mhm. Just little edges, right?
Yeah.
All right, number 5. Write thou this pentacle upon virgin parchment, because it is terrible unto demons, and at its sight and aspect they will obey thee, for they cannot resist its presence. This is the scorpion.
The big scorp, yeah, that's my name for it.
I
Um,
love the scorpion.
we love the scorpion in this house, because it is terrible to demons, and at its sight they will obey thee.
Mhm.
Um,
If I could bring one pentacle into the circle with me, if I'm doing an evocation, this is probably the one.
yeah, I've seen people substitute the entire line skin belt with this one.
Mhm.
Um, but it also complements it very well, right? The versicle is Psalm 91:13. You will tread on the lion, cub, and the cobra. You will trample the great lion and the serpent, right? So both the diminutive versions and the greater versions. And sometimes it's translated also the great lion and the dragon, right? Or thou shalt walk upon the asp and the basilisk. There's many versions of
Mhm.
this. And I love it. I've drawn this bad boy many times to the point that I'm pretty good at drawing scorpions now.
Mhm. It's it's always fun to practice and seeing how much of a messed up scorpion you can bring into the circle, and the spirit still has to obey because it's conjured correctly, and they're like, okay, yeah, I get what you mean.
Well, I mean, if you've seen any incantation bowl demon-like depiction in the bottom, or if you've flipped it a PGM and you've seen like what counts as a depiction,
Mhm.
you're fine.
Oh yeah, yeah,
You're
yeah.
fine. Like your fat scorp, totally fine.
And around this fat scorpion, Mathers inscribed the word "hul," but Mastros brings up a really interesting point that this is probably an error, and it should actually be the very visually similar kahil, meaning might or like
Mm-hmm.
strength, especially in a military context,
Mm-hmm.
which is very cool and a
Mm-hmm.
much needed correction.
Yeah.
Right. Number 6. It hath so great virtue that being armed therewith, if thou art attacked by anyone, thou shalt neither be injured nor wounded when thou fightest him, and his own weapons shall turn against him. The associated versicle with this pentacle is Psalm 37:15, but their swords will pierce their own hearts, and their bows will be broken. There's also a seal or like a drawing in the perimeter, which a lot of people, including masters, think is meant to represent like a broken arrow.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Totally.
Inside of this one, there is some magical ciphertext which tickles my brain and makes me very happy. But this is from the secret alphabet of the Malachim, as it's produced by Agrippa in his 3 books. In this pentacle, the text reads Elohim Kavar,
Mm-hmm.
with Kavar coming from the root QVR, or like Kavar,
Mm-hmm.
translating to matters of tombs and graves and burying the dead.
Mm-hmm.
So this pentacle does not fuck around.
I love how much you love ciphers.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes I'm like, I look at you sometimes and I'm like, oh, Johannes Trithemius died in 1516 and you were born in redacted year that makes you a zoomer. Welcome back, Trithemius.
Mm-hmm.
You do love your steganography. And I love the way that you get so into that stuff and hacking codes, and it's one of the reasons you got so into lockpicking too.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, because you're also nasty.
Nasty.
Boy. But I love that in our notes you put this is the Antifa pentacle.
Oh yeah, it really is.
Many a magician that I personally know I'm gonna put this on their riot shields and put this on their helmets,
Mhm.
and just go on a protest with it. And this was, I believe, we recommended this in the Law Keep Away episode.
I think so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This one is fantastic. Listen, I'm not saying I'm not saying. I'm just saying I've never seen a tear gas grenade picked up and thrown with such dexterity before.
Your your very appropriate humble brag is well earned because yeah, it's good for that shit.
Oh man,
All right, now the big wheel that's also a big star.
love me an octagram.
Mhm.
All right, so number 7. Write thou this upon virgin parchment or paper with the blood of a bat in the day and hour of Mars, and uncover it within the circle, invoking the demons whose names are therein written, and thou shalt immediately see hail and tempest. The associated versicle is from Psalm 105, verses 32 to 33. He turned their rain into hail with lightning throughout their land. He struck down their vines and fig trees and shattered the trees of their country.
This is the Dragon Pentacle.
Mhm. And it does indeed cause hails and tempests.
It do indeed cause storms.
And one of the really interesting things about this pentacle in Sarah Masters' commentary is that the names they're in are actually from a 17th century Kabbalistic text called the Gate of Intention. In the context of a prayer, that induces a dream where you witness your own soul being dismembered to expedite its individual parts uh, removal from the cycle of reincarnation in function,
This
which
is like chud like as well.
legit,
Like I love it. Yeah.
I love that. And also interestingly, this is the one pentacle that Sarah's commentary does not fully translate
Mhm.
for in her opinion of not causing more ecological catastrophes than we're already facing, which I kind of respect.
All right, it's sun time. First pentacle of the sun, the countenance of Shaddai the Almighty, at whose aspect all creatures obey and the angelic spirits do reverence on bended knees. This one is one of the more complicated ones to draw because there's a face, right? Could be Shaddai, could be the angel Metatron, could be Moses, could be many different, there's many different like ideas as to who the face is. But draw him with the horns and the beard and the lovely ray of light halo emanating from behind. And just remember, if you feel uncomfortable with what you're drawing or you're engraving upon gold or gold-filled brass, just flip it to PGM. Don't worry about it. Like look at those drawings and then look at yours and you're fine. The versicle is actually in Latin, and it says, "Behold his face and form, by whom all things were made, and whom all creatures obey." Master just notes that, like, yeah, it's supposed to be El Shaddai, perhaps, but like the image really looks like Moses, especially because different kinds of beings of power have curled ram horns, right? Also called the horns of a moon from Egypt. So there's like a lot of really similar versions of this particular face, that you can see in other kinds of iconographers. And in her version, she does the Metatron's cube instead of the face. I've always done the face personally. But Shaddai does indeed, like through gematria, equate to Metatron, which is quite traditional in Hebrew numerology. But this one is really fucking cool. And I would say, it's also because interesting because for Mathers, right, this is the face that of Metatron that is the null point of God, as the articulator of God, right? So it's a great one to also have on the back of Pentacles of the Sun.
Definitely, yeah. It's always good to have whatever personage this may be staring back at you as you present the pentacle to spirits as well. It's quite fun. It's like the little pocket icon of Michael Jackson,
Yeah. You consult every now and then.
Like four people know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's okay, I'm one of them. The the second pentacle of the sun, and the preceding and the following belong to the nature of the sun. They serve to repress the pride and arrogance of solar spirits, which are altogether proud and arrogant by their nature. So this isn't all spirits, specifically solar spirits, because they are like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is true. Another example of one of the four angelic names ones, and this one is also infamously contains the name Paimonia, which is frequently identified with the demon Paimon, but also does not necessarily have to be. The other names are Malachiel, Shemeshiel, from Shemesh, the sun, right, the Semitic root. The Rechudia, which Master speculates might be from the Semitic root for chariot, again, tying it to the Merkaba, right, another good one to, again, have on the backs of things if you need to, or just to have them for when you're doing solar conjurations so that you don't get the solar spirit experience, which they are known to give, given their pride. The third pentacle of the sun is the goat. This is the greatest of all time. This is, if you make one pentacle, make this one. This serveth in addition to the effects of the two preceding, to acquire the kingdom and empire, to inflict loss, to acquire renown and glory, and especially through the name of God Tetragrammaton, which therein is 12 times contained. So there's 12 different Yod He Vav He's on this. It is beautiful. It goes hard. It looks like an astrological chart. So it can be used to remediate bad placements in a general way, given the broad function of Pentacle. This is the one. It prints money. It does good things for you. Like I would shell out enough to get at least a gold filled brass for this one. I have one that is always with me. It is absolutely fantastic, and it truly does what it says. And the versicle is a variation of Daniel 4:34. His dominion is an eternal dominion, and his kingdom endures from generation to generation. The nice thing about all their nice translations is if you aren't confident in your Hebrew, you can always write this in English or in Latin around the edge of the pentacle. But I would do the Hebrew for the names of power, obviously, especially because they're not so hard to write.
It's good practice too in the versicle.
The fourth pentacle of the sun is one of Kian my favorites. It serveth to enable thee to see the spirits when they appear invisible unto those who invoke them, because when thou hast uncovered, they will immediately appear visible. So if you're doing a long conjuration and you're like the spirit is there, but you don't see them, like it's not as physical and as manifestation as you like. Part of the reason why there's like fasting and things is also to get you more in a trance-like state. But in this way, when you uncover it, like I have it veiled, and if I'm feeling the spirit very strongly, but I don't see them with my naked eyes, I will uncover this and watch, and then they become very physical. We both use this pentacle in the Faustian, a particular experiment to bring a good spirit into a glass. We have a post about this on With Cunning Command. We've had this like in the water glass. We've put this underneath the water glass to illuminate visions. So it's just great for water scrying because the light will hit it and it will illuminate the water.
Yeah, there's like a certain quality that light that is reflected off the surface of this talisman once consecrated gains. That's like it's just a beam of illumination where it's like, oh, spirit's trying to hide from me. I see now. Spirit's not trying to hide from me. I see you even better than I did before.
Exactly, yeah. And it also has the passing of the river alphabet again. And just him around it. Yeah, it's Hashem Adonai around.
An all-time favorite. Love this one.
So good. Make this one too.
Yeah, definitely.
The fifth pentacle of the sun, it serveth to invoke the spirits who can transport thee from one place unto another over a long distance and in short time. The teleportation pentacle.
Bring this to the airport. Just saying.
It literally, this is in my luggage. It is stitched in there. It gets me from point A to point B in a short amount of time, and swiftly. It's great. It also gets my luggage to me if I check it. Yes. And the versicle is from Psalm 91, 11 to 12, which is both super popular as a prayer for protection and as a written amulet. And it is, he shall give his angels charge over thee and keep thee in all thy ways. They shall bear thee up at their hands.
One of the goats.
It is indeed. The passing of the river script here is a little bit corrupted. Mastros speculates that it's meant to read Atad Gibor Leolam Adonai, you are mighty forever Adonai, which of course would be AGLA, right? And it's man, bring it to the airport. And make it bring things to you quickly. Like, if you're missing something, if you can't find it, this is a great one to whisper things to, like, find this thing for me. If you need to find something rare, that's hard to find, there is a Mercury pentacle with your name on it later, but this is also good to pair with it to make it come fast.
Definitely, yeah. Also, if you're feeling very frisky with it, put this one in the drawing spirits into crystals machine and call upon it and see what you can't do about acquiring a spectral steed. Allegedly
can grant a spirit that you can ride. The sixth pentacle of the sun, it serveth excellently for the operation of invisibility when correctly made. So this is the one that grants invisibility. So good for being incognito in places, so good for gathering the materia from places you shouldn't be lurking in or trespassing. So good for getting the things you need done, and being unnoticed. It's excellent. People do not notice me in public when I am wearing this one. The divine name is our Shaddai. And in the passing of the river text, allegedly it is Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And the versicle is a mashup of Psalm 69:23. Let their eyes be darkened so they do not see, and make their loins shake continually. And Psalm 135:16. Eyes they have, but they do not see.
I love that combo.
You love when
The
loins shake continually.
Oh man,
Yeah,
I do.
nasty.
But...
Nasty.
Oh man. But yeah, one of the most useful of all the pentacles in my life.
Mhm.
One of the ones that everyone should make an experiment with. Black cat bone this thing, take it in front of a mirror, and hold it up until your reflection gets very weird. And then you'll know it's good.
That's when you know it works. Yep.
Mhm.
And finally, the seventh pentacle of the sun. If any be by chance imprisoned or detained in fetters of iron, at the presence of this pentacle, which should be engraved in gold on the day and hour of the sun, he will be immediately delivered and set at liberty.
Very fond of this one. The
Mm-hmm.
you know, detained in fetters of iron is always nice.
Shut up. No, listen, last episode you were like popping up with a knot magic, and this whole time I'm like, that's beautiful. I love that he knows how to fish. Um, I love that he knows how to do other things with knots. It's like World and Atlas Encyclopedia of Japanese shibari bondage insert. Yeah. But actually, this one, the versicle, may not be your friend Key, because it is Psalm 116, 16 and 17. You have freed me from my chains. I will sacrifice a thank you. I will sacrifice a thank offering to you and call on the name of the Lord. Um,
Thwarted.
Thwarted. Well, depends whose magic is stronger. There's a
Oh no.
variety, a variety of angel names on the interior of the pentacle, including, interestingly, Tarshish, which is a term used to describe the body of the angel that freed Daniel from the lion's den in Daniel 10:6. So great one for anyone who is detained in any way. Bring this with you to protests in case you are arrested. Bring this with you anywhere where you might have your liberty challenged. Another great one. This one pairs nicely with the one for getting through airports quickly.
Mhm.
For number 5, because it also helps you not get detained when you're being searched or when your items are being checked at the security.
Yeah. You can use this one in combo with the invisibility pentacle to get some very um, strange, large iron items through an X-ray scanner. Allegedly, I've heard this anecdotally.
In Minecraft, I do love that this one also just pairs so well for helping people with like bonds and
Mhm.
any kind of like I don't know, we've done this for protesters. It's been
Mhm.
great.
Yeah, if people are getting picked up at like a protest just because they're standing in the wrong place at the wrong time, like
Mhm.
definitely have this around. Like if you are feeling frisky with it and can do so safely, like if you know there's a parade route or whatever, like chalk this along the route, or
Mhm.
like just hide it off to the side somewhere. Deploy them about. There's some cool powders you can make with the ashes of like a lot of these as well that I've played
Mhm.
around with a bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of
Well,
sympathy as well with other like jailbreak magic stuff from
mm,
the PGM to conjure. It all plays nicely.
totally. Well, where Venus is next, and I've seen your birth chart. You are a living Venus talisman and also a living Mars talisman, which explains a lot of things. You got that, got that Mars in Scorpio and the Ascendant, and you also got that Venus in Pisces in the funny house.
Mhm.
So this one's all you.
Thank you. Those two things explain most of what I'm about.
They
For
fucking
those
do,
listening.
yeah.
People are like, do they compete? And I'm like, it's a beautiful synthesis.
Yeah, it truly is.
Oh man. Okay, first Pentacle of Venus. This and those following serve to control the spirits of Venus, and especially those herein written. Another one that grants authority over all of the spirits of the sphere, but 4 in particular. Um, we have also their Semitic roots being Noga, Hebrew name for Venus, Ohel, which is a kind of root word that is referring to like tents or encampments, which we'll get to in a second why that's interesting. But the third is Sukkot, the week-long harvest festival that starts as the full moon is in Libra. And the last one is Nagariel, which would describe something that's like flowing outward or flowing away from you, which is referring to the rainy season that immediately and generally follows Sukkot. So there's a lot of beautiful imagery going on here with like, controlling the spirits of Venus, but it's also like fertility, growth, reaping of crops sown, celebrating life, having a good, autumn time as the seasons change. It's good. Soothing talisman.
Mm.
Right. And then number 2. These pentacles are also proper for obtaining grace and honor, and for all things which belong to Venus, and for accomplishing all thy desires herein. The versicle is from the Song of Songs, which is my favorite thing for this sort of work.
Yeah.
I'm an enjoyer of all of that for any manner of love magic and things like that. Very famously, this is Song of Solomon 8:6. Put me as a seal upon thy heart, as a seal upon thy arm, for love is strong as death. This verse as well is why I've seen this particular pentacle tattooed on the arms of a lot of occultists, which, cool move. Good looking
Yeah,
tattoo
yeah.
as well.
It is, it is. This is my favorite Pentacle of Venus, because grace and honor are such important things, right? And really great for job interviews, really great for just being liked by bosses, by people in positions of authority. Great to put on a honey jar or like a sweetening molasses type of jar or a sugar jar, just there's so much that can be done with this one.
Definitely. And even the particular angel names and divine names called upon here expand its uses, right? Because we have the name going around the outside of the pentacle as Yonael, or the dove of El, the dove of God, which is fantastic. And the names inside mean hope and love, which is always nice. I'll need more of that.
But
All right.
yeah, I really like tying this one around the arm, like or keeping it in the breast pocket, right?
Yeah, definitely. I have a lot of shirts that have conveniently placed pockets over the heart, so this one is often in there if I need to be glamoring people or just having them act in a kind way with grace and honor. It's always
Yeah.
good.
I mean, you and I think have exclusively used this for like money situations, actually. We're just like a stake set part when it comes to like how our performance is, just to make sure there's no like jealousy or competitiveness, right?
Yeah, exactly. This is not one that I personally go to so much for like love, but does the job. All right. Speaking of going to ones for love stuff, number 3. This pentacle, if it be only shown unto any person, serveth to attract love. Its angel Monachiel should be invoked in the day and hour of Venus at 1 o'clock or at 8. So these are the hours of Venus just translated to the clock, which is always nice. Especially when they're accurate, as they generally are here in the summertime.
Yeah. Both of us have, so for these loved ones, like we've never actually used them for ourselves, we've used them for clients. And one of the interesting things about this one is it's so good to bring 2 people together because the diagram looks like 2 triangles touching, right? So you can literally put like 2 figure candles or something like that and like have them face each other and melt together on top of it.
Yeah, any sort of moving candle spell, wax images, binding photos together, all that sort of thing. This is the place to do it. This one works very well.
Yeah.
And just to say the versicle is from Genesis 1, verse 28. And God blessed them, and he said, increase and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it, which is quite nice.
Mm-hmm.
And the next one here is the fourth pentacle. It is of great power, since it compels the spirits of Venus to obey and to force on the instant any person that wishes to come unto thee. Interview with the vampire. Come to me.
Yes, yes. We've been watching Interview with the Vampire at last, so it's
Mhm.
this is that one.
Yeah. So the versicle is from Genesis, which Masterus wonderfully names Adam's wedding vow,
Mm.
um, which is this is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh, and they two were one flesh. Again, good for binding things together because you are binding two flesh into one flesh.
Mm-hmm.
I like hearts and pins and nails and things with this one.
Wax that you mold
Mhm.
together, like from the two different sources of wax.
Yeah, with the kind of bar of soap trick as well, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Any melty stuff. So then number 5, the final Venusian pentacle. When it is only shown unto any person whatsoever, it inciteth and exciteth wonderfully unto love. This one really works. This is where I go for a lot of client work and stuff like that, just because it pops off. Like
Mm-hmm.
the versicle here is from Psalm 22, line 15. My heart is become like wax; it is melted in mine innermost parts. So there are your spell instructions right there.
Yeah, literally. It already tells you how to use it.
Mhm. Definitely. And once again, we see the return of the passing of the river cipher. I love me some occult cryptography. Let's go.
Let's go.
And the names here, when decoded, become Elohim, Adonai, El Gibor, and Shaddai.
Mm-hmm. So good. You can just keep repeating the psalm like over and over
Mhm.
again, like really emphasizing that particular line as you like mold everything together.
Mhm. Also, if people are like, the usual client case where it's like, my boyfriend told me I want him back. I'm like, okay, well, you're paying me, so let's do this. Take the wax candle of a heart and just slowly melt away all the insecurities and hangups there. And
Mm.
just, what you drip that on is also a fun consideration.
Yes. Pentacles of Mercury.
Woo!
You're a Venus and a Mars election. I'm actually a Mercury election.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
suppose it is only fitting. The first pentacle of Mercury is it's a pentagram. It's a star. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, please, I'm a star. Sorry, I had to Pearl post for a second there. It serveth to invoke the spirits who are under deferment. The inner characters spell out the angel Agiel, and the characters in the outer circle spell out the angelic name Yekahel. And interestingly, so Agiel is the intelligence of Saturn, according to Barrett, which is really interesting to note, right?
Mm-hmm.
For others, the Gael might be like Gael might be the valley spirit. Ikahel might be God will penetrate or stab. So both can absolutely be called. And interestingly, the pentacle is a logographic representation of Genesis because you have the separation of the water from the earth, right? So this is really interesting about like the firmament, right? This is really interesting for cosmological visions, for speaking to spirits that are like quite literally, underneath the essential layer of creation. Very, very interesting provisions. It doesn't say that specifically, but for me, like elevates my consciousness to a level when I start to see some of these things.
Mm-hmm.
And really good for some of my dragon stuff that I won't go any deeper into.
Mm. This is a freaky pentacle.
Yeah, real freak hours. And now we turn to the official Frightful Howls podcast favorite pentacle, because there is one and it's crowned this one. It is the second pentacle of Mercury. The spirits herein written serve to bring to effect and to grant things which are contrary unto the order of nature, and which are not contained under any other head. They easily give answer, but they can with difficulty be seen. We use this for everything. Think about the description. Think about what it means that to bring things contrary unto the order of nature. A spirit that has a hard time manifesting, make it easy to manifest. Something that is really rare, make it easy to obtain. Something that is really expensive, make it cheap, right? So we take this very expansively. This is the one that I use to gamble with. When I want to summon a a unit in a gacha game, in Genshin Impact or whatever, and like it's a rare chance of it happening. This is the one that I use to get it nice and easy. The name inside, there's a few different things. There's Boil, there's Yebib, and there's Kab, and Boel is a name that does appear in the Demotic Magical Pyre, PDM 14. 409 to 75. There's this line in it on this is if you have the Hans Bet's translation of the Quick Magical Pyre with the demonic spells, this is pages 221 to 222. It says, "O doubly great God, bring Boel in, tat tat, bring Boel in, bring Boel in, bring Boel in, tagratat, he of eternity, bring Boel in, bring Boel in, bring Boel in, Batesy, O great God, bring Boel in, bring Boel in, bring Boel in." Repeat this. Instead of a psalm, repeat this. It gives a fantastic effect. We feel that this bowl is the same on the pentacle as from the PDM. We know it's a stretch. I've talked to Allison from Practical Cult about this, and it's been our sentiment that there's really something to this, and it brings things really contrary to the order of nature. Take it thrifting, take it to used bookstores, take it to places where it is really hard to get things, and suddenly find them at a discount. I love this one. I carry it everywhere. It is also usually on my computer. I've made it out of nickel silver. It is beautiful. Make it. It's also easy to write. It's not a hard design.
One of the easiest.
Yeah. We love this one.
It's the GOAT. It's the favorite, does everything.
Yeah, sky's the limit. The third pentacle of Mercury, this and the following serve to invoke the spirits subject unto Mercury, and especially those who are written on this pentacle. So there's 4 spirits, right? Salnia from Sun for sandal, Kokaviel from Kokav, being Hebrew for Mercury, the planet, also noted in the Book of Enoch to have been one of the fallen angels. Hokmael. Hokmah, of course, is wisdom, right? Analogous to Sophia, also one of the Sephirot. And Gedoria, Gedor to enclose, in the sense of like city walls are closing. And interestingly, there's like these 4 spokes, right, of the pentacle that are touching the angel names. And interestingly, we've kind of had this vibe that these are the scepters of the spirits. And it gives some hints as to what they do, given the designs.
Definitely more so than like the other 4-name wheel designs, if you will. For me, this one is like, yeah, this one. While it looks identical, has some other weirdness to it that's fun to explore.
Yeah, absolutely. The 4th pentacle of Mercury is one of my favorites as well. This is a complicated one to draw. You've seen mine, Key. I did a pretty good job of it.
Yeah.
It's very even. All the Hebrew is in there. I'm very happy with it. But just use a ruler to sketch it out with pencil first before you start engraving, so that you can have the lines of the star be visible, right? So this is further proper to acquire the understanding and knowledge of all things created, and to seek out and penetrate into hidden things, and to command those spirits which are called alatori to perform embassies. They obey very readily. This is the double Star of David, the clock, right? Got those spokes. The text outside his pentacle is fantastic. It says, "Wisdom and virtue are in this house, and the knowledge of all things remaineth with him forever." The divine names are Yod He Vav He and El, and the letters within the central star spell out Yod He Vav He, fix thou the volatile, and let there be unto the void restriction. Put this at the bottom of skull candles to see what's in someone's head, because this is, again, something that is hidden, right? Like someone's mind, to find out secrets, to find out special angel numbers, lottery numbers, whatever, right? Things that are not known to you. To practice your scrying, like look into it and be like, what is this? There's a car outside of my house. What is its license plate? And then go out and check, right? It's so good for finding hidden information. So if you're researching things on JSTOR late at night, like I do, great to find that one source that just seems out of grasp.
Yeah, fantastic for like unlocking kind of the last piece of the puzzle that you need for anything for that
Yeah.
matter.
Mhm.
This pentacle is one that's always made me laugh as well, because if you were around certain parts of the internet right as Secrets of Solomon came out, there was like monthly discourse about like what are the Alatori.
Mm.
Um, and there was a lot of speculation that the methods in that text with a group of spirits called the Amalthai were actually identical beings, and that was a fun time of speculation.
Mm-hmm. And the
Yeah.
text too, right? Like the one inside, right? Like fix
Mhm.
thou the volatile, let there be unto devote restriction, all those other kinds of things. Great prayer against darkness and for mental stability,
Mhm.
which is great when you're a magician because of the forces that we deal with.
Mhm. Definitely, everyone should be doing that.
Yeah. And finally, the fifth pentacle of Mercury. This commendeth the spirits of Mercury and serveth to open doors in whatever way they may be closed, and nothing it may encounter can resist it. This is the road opening pentacle. It's very
Mhm.
broad. Specify that there's no issue that the spirits of the pentacle cannot overcome. And it mirrors Ezekiel's vision of the chariot because the versicle is chanted by the four holy living beings when God descends. Psalm 23:7. Lift up your heads, O ye gates, and be ye lifted up, ye everlasting doors, that the King of glory may come in. Fantastic for road opening. Great to pair with the second. So this opens the road so that the unlikely things can come in, the things
Mhm.
contrary to their
Mhm.
nature.
Also really good to pair with the fourth, right? To
Mhm.
open the roads and then just pluck the one exact thing you need out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And of course, being the spokes of the wheel, the crossroads in the middle, it's like, oh yeah, I see what's up
Yeah,
here.
yeah, it's literally a crossroad
Hmm.
with the divine names El, Ab, and Yod He Vav He around. Finally, finally
Last
reached
but not least,
last one is the moon featuring one of Key's favorites for the first.
oh yeah, this one is the best ever. The second of Mercury is really the best because it can also do this. But the first pentacle of the moon serves to call forth and invoke the spirits of the moon, and it further serveth to open doors in whatever way they may be fastened. This is literal and metaphorical. Um,
Mhm.
so the reason that this is my favorite is because it looks like the mechanism of a pin tumbler lock with three pins. So as you go kind of down that middle channel and or the keyway, if you will, and align everything, you even have a lockpick and a tension bar on the pentacle as little doodads. So yeah, it's good.
I love that in Sarah Masters' book, just actually a diagram of an ancient three-pin tumbler lock overlaid onto this one, because the rest of the moon pentacles have the hands, right?
Mhm.
And this one does not. It is not even shaped like a circle. So this is great to like engrave on keys and things.
Mhm. Definitely, yeah. I have
And
this one in a lockpick set.
and it may be featuring in a future project that you will unveil.
That it will.
Mhm.
More to come on that.
Yeah, our
Um,
our lockpicking lawyer, BK, is coming up with some interesting road opening lockpicking technology for you all. So
mhm.
stay tuned.
Oh yeah. All right. So this pentacle, as we said, opens doors, literal and metaphorical. Good to include in doing spell work with things that have failed once before, in my opinion. Um, because if something doesn't work, I'm like, okay, let me hit this again and also throw it on top of this pentacle because whatever thing prevented it from working last up is now overcome.
Mhm.
Um, Should probably say as well, the versicle here is Psalm 107, line 16. For he hath broken the gates of brass and cut the bars of iron asunder.
Hot.
Um, it's good, yeah.
Hmm.
Like it a lot. The this one is also good for getting people out of jail. Just saying.
Yep.
Another good protest toolkit thing to have. All right, number 2. All right, so this one's the thumb. It has, famously the little finger pointing at the text, like read this.
Mm.
Serves against all perils and dangers by water, and if it should chance that the spirits of the moon should excite and cause great rain and exceeding tempests about the circle, as they are want to do, sadly, in order to astonish and terrify thee, on showing unto them this pentacle, it will all speedily cease. The versicle here is Psalm 118, line 12. In God do I trust, I will not be afraid. What can man do unto me? Which is great.
It is great.
So as a note with this one, I find that this works against like just mundane circumstance, rain as well. You just kind of go outside and reveal the pentacle to the clouds and allow maybe a drop or two to fall onto this, and the rain will be averted.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so then the third pentacle of the moon. This being duly born with thee when upon a journey, if it be properly made, serveth against all attacks by night, and against every kind of danger and peril by water. Everyone make this one. It is good.
Great for traveling by water. Great for, in general, if you live by areas that are prone to flooding.
Engraving it like somewhere in the house. Just be like,
Mhm.
or put it on the shore and be like, keep the water line down.
Yeah, great for Faustian spirits of the water, in your experience.
Oh yeah, this one does very well against them in the circle, if you will. The versicle around this pentacle is from Psalm 40, being, "Be pleased, O Lord, to deliver me. O Lord, make haste to help me," which is always good. This one's the finger, and the next one's the middle finger.
Just so you guys know that actual drawings, it's always the index finger pointing. We're just calling them this.
It's just because there's 5 of them, and at this
Yeah.
point, recording for a while, you gotta do something, right?
Yeah.
So this pentacle defendeth thee from all evil sorceries and from all injury unto soul or body. Its angel, Sophiel, some texts give Jophiel, giveth the knowledge of the virtue of all herbs and stones, and unto whomsoever shall name him, he will procure the knowledge of all. Evoke this guy immediately.
Literally. Immediately, he teaches the virtues of herbs and stones. Great for herbalism, obviously great for like knowing what to engrave things on, great for lapidary work, just great for just getting your shit together when you're memorizing complicated herbalists in oral traditions.
Right.
Hint.
And the versicle here also helps with that, being Jeremiah 17:18. Let them be confounded who persecute me, and let me not be confounded. Let them fear, and not I.
Facts, honestly.
Take all of your confusion and wish it upon your worst enemy. Love it.
Love it. This one's also the divine name Eye Asher Eye, and the angelic names Yahel and Sophiel. Call them.
People forget to call Yahel. He is funny, shall we say.
Don't be sleeping on him.
Better not catch you slipping on the evocation of Yahel.
Yeah, exactly. You'll start like, sound of like belt slapping against hands. There we go.
Oh man. So the fifth and penultimate pentacle of the moon. It's
the ring finger.
The ring finger. Oh man. It serveth to have answers in sleep. Its angel Yahadiel serveth unto destruction and loss, as well as unto the destruction of enemies. Thou mayest also call upon him by Aban and Dale, against all phantoms of the night, and to summon the souls of the departed from Hades.
The whole thing about like Abaddon and Dali is interesting because some people think that Abaddon is a corruption of Abaddon, meaning a demon of the abyss, right? And whose root may be loss, and maybe related to the Greek Apollo, whose name could sometimes be destroyer or driver away of evil. But Master says that when Abaddon is used in the Torah, the context generally implies a place within the underworld. But on the other hand, Abdon is also a human given name, such as one of the biblical judges, which also means like servant, slave, or worshiper from another Semitic root, similar to the Arabic name Abdul. And Dale is less clear. It could be related to the root Dala, which means to drop from a well, such as like holy wells or holes in the underworld, right? To summon them. So it's interesting, right? But there's options with this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Especially with the explicit mention of like Hades, right? It's fun to explore. This is a good one. And this is a very juvenile aside before I proceed, but I have always kind of loved this pentacle because it's for like necromancy, malefica, like haunting people in their dreams. But there in the diagram on it, it's just like a K.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like bottom text, yeah. Yeah, it destroys your enemies, gives you dreams, like answers and stuff like that. Yeah, summons the souls of Hades, but also K. I always also thought that kind of looked like a staff, right?
Yeah.
With like almost like one of those Egyptian ones.
Yeah,
With the
definitely.
wings out, yeah. And then it has Psalm 68, line 2. Let God arise, let his enemies be scattered, and let them that hate him flee before him. With the divine names Yod He Vav He and Elohim, and the angelic names Yahdiel and Azarel.
Azarel is always one that trips me up because I almost want to say the other guy's name.
Yeah, don't.
Yeah. So then the final one of the night. Thank you for bearing with us here as we get to that little finger. So Six Pentacle of the Moon is wonderfully good.
It's not even a finger one though. That's just I wish it was, but it's not. It's actually one of the wheel ones.
It is, yeah. It is one of the funniest bait and switches of this whole thing. We are truly loved by the spirits. So this Six Pentacle of the Moon is wonderfully good and serveth excellently to excite and cause heavy rains, if it be engraved upon a plate of silver, and if it be placed under water, as long as it remaineth there, there will be rain. It should be engraved, drawn, or written in the day and hour of the moon. The versicle around the pentacle is from Genesis 7, verses 11 and 12. All the fountains of the great deep were broken up, and the rain was upon the earth.
I kind of love when they specify, oh, do this in the day and hour of the planet, because I'd be doing that anyway.
It's a nice verification. It's like, okay, cool. And during that day and hour, it will indeed rain, because for those of you listening, if you want to prove to yourself that magic is real, if you have somehow made it through this entire episode without already believing that, make this one as accurately as you can and put it in a bucket of water outside.
One of the things that I find interesting about this one too is that it's like the stuff around it looks a lot like certain Egyptian tools. Like there's some that like the vertical one looks like an ankh, right? The sideways one looks a little bit like a jed pillar. And then the ones on the going horizontally. And then the diagonal ones, like two of them look a lot like a wasp scepter. Or like the kind of the set animal looking scepter. So, and I don't know, there's something interesting, like Sarah Masters does a good job of analyzing this and lets you kind of like look into them and be like, oh, this is so interesting. There's like the stiff forked tail with like, on the diagonal, on the other diagonal, you have the normal staff, you have the ankh, the jed. There's something going on with this one, right?
Definitely, yeah. Especially, if you're very concerned with the production of rain.
Yeah.
being in North Africa, not exactly a place known for a lot of rain. yeah, it's interesting. Especially too with the reference here that like the fountains of the deep are being broken up. Like this is a subterranean like voyage to the underworld type, bring the water to the earth thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So there you have it. The Pentacles, all 44. Go out, make them do, just go.
Mhm.
And they're so worth playing around with. They're excellent. Check out Sarah Masters' book. Check out S. Aldenay's chapbook. Check out the original McGregor Mathers edition. Check out all the other ones that have come out. The Joseph Peterson one. Like there's many, many, many great versions of this text out there for you to play with. And also check out Allison's work, Practical Occult. She's got so many good ones. You can buy them from her, already consecrated. You can buy non-consecrated ones, mass-produced on various websites, including Etsy. You can make your own. I love making my own. I've never really bought them other than a couple of the touristy ones, just to
Mhm.
kind of have as like a quick thing to add to something. But I usually make my own because you can do them on a lot of different surfaces. And like we said, we've gotten results with pretty much all of them. There is an inherent power to these designs.
Definitely. And yeah, experiment, have fun, make them all.
Make them
Tell us.
all. Join
Tell
our
us about it.
Patreon, go in our Discord, and tell us about it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. This, when you make all 44 of them, tell us you have all 44, and we'll be like, cool. Make more of them and give them to your friends.
Yeah.
It never ends.
Tell us about your experiences with them and what worked, what didn't. Let's keep pen testing this stuff. Our Akashic Records. Mine is Pentacles by Ghosty Mane featuring Omen 13 and Kill Station.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, you've seen this one live.
Yeah, also shout out to Omen 13.
Yeah, for real, for real.
An amazing pick. And my Akashic record for this episode is Song of Solomon by Animals as Leaders.
Love it. Excellent pick. We've gotten some licenses to depart from this one, from this whole text before, but this time it is chapter 14, the oration of the experiment of seeking favor and influence. Last episode, Caspar very kindly exercised our podcast from the evil eye, so now it is time to bless it. And I turn that over to you.
O Adonai, most holy, most righteous, and most almighty God, who hast made all things through thy mercy and righteousness wherewith thou art filled, grant unto us that we may be found worthy, that this experiment may be found consecrated and perfect, so that the light may issue from thy most holy seat, O Adonai, which may obtain for us favor and influence. Amen. Oh man, we should definitely do an episode about some of our like mediumistic development and like elevating the dead, right? And do like a whole Kardecian spiritism thing, and we should really just call it Keeping Up with the Kardecians.
Okay. I'm glad you said it so we could copyright it. Like it may take us some time to make this episode a reality because we're gonna have to really research it properly. But we've said it, okay, so no one can steal a name from us.
Exactly right. Like you have to get mounted by something that asks us very nicely.
Yeah, exactly.
A spirit of light that can shine a spotlight onto whoever the Kardashians are these days. Kim, being mounted by something.
One of them. You can't even name more than one.